Camp Keewaydin. Camp Keewaydin's about 6 miles up the lake. And they had been staff members there for a number of years, and there was a big organization that was Keewaydin. Not just this camp, but it was many organizations put together under a big umbrella. And in the late 20s and early 30s, the Camp Keewaydin, or the Keewaydin umbrella, began to fall apart for reasons that I'm not exactly sure of. But Dick's grandfather and his 7 colleagues at Camp Keewaydin decided they wanted to start their own situation. They wanted to move away from this organization that they weren't real pleased with for probably a variety of reasons. And they chose this site, Waubun. And in the summer, end of the 1932 summer, at Camp Keewaydin, they met. They talked about establishing their own camp, arranged to purchase what you think of as the camp area here. And in 1933, they began Camp Waubun. There are some relics from that year. The room we call the lodge, with the fireplace here. That was the kitchen, the dining room and the recreation room in 1933. That's an original building. Parts of the kitchen are original. The 2 cabins that the girls are staying in on either end are originals from that first season. The piece in the middle was added later. The tuck shop outfitting area was an original building, and there was a shop in the same location as our shop today, looked very much like it, but that is not one of the original buildings. So we have those physical relics of the earliest years. We also have some descendants of those 8 men, and they represent different generations. And I was once at a place in the north of Norway, which during the Second World War had been furiously bombed by the Germans, and there was a war memorial there. And on the memorial it said, "None named, lest one be forgotten," which I thought was a very touching sentiment. And I don't dare name people who are descendants of the original 8, lest I do forget one. But I'd like them all to stand up. Dick Lewis and Russ Tuckerman and Marty Johnson right here beside me. And a number of you in the audience, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of those original 8. If you represent one of those people, please stand up and let us recognize you. What you can see from that is that there's a long tradition that represents Waubun, and these families have stayed with us and joined in a variety of ways as campers, as staff, as helpers, in a whole variety of different situations and categories. One of the things we've always done at this final campfire is to read logs of what's taken place during the season. In the last few years, when we've had 2 sessions, we've had a campfire like this between the sessions. And we had some sections in at the end of the first session, some in at the beginning of the second session, and those folks read logs at that time. So we may not hear all of the trips from each one of the sections, but we will hear certainly about their final trip, and we'll start with our youngest campers, the Chippies, and hear their stories of the second 3 weeks' adventures. Trevor Reese, are you going to read for us?